Welcome to the Soul of Medicine. Welcome, everybody, to this week's Soul of Medicine podcast. We're so excited to have Jen Poulson on with us, who we just got acquainted with a few weeks ago as a powerful healer. Welcome, Jen. Again, we're so excited for you to be here to talk about this amazing spinal flow technique that you do and that we just discovered that I feel has been transformative for both of us in big and subtle ways. So we're so excited to have our audience learn more about you and the technique. So Jen is a certified spinal flow practitioner and energy coach with a background in psychology. She combines the powerful techniques of spinal flow with mindset coaching to support her clients in overcoming blocks and achieving their goals. Jen's holistic approach integrates energy work with practical strategies for personal growth and transformation. Spinal Flow Technique, which we'll learn more about, is a gentle hands-on technique that calms the nervous system, increases Lifeforce energy, and harnesses the body's innate ability to heal itself. Spinal flow can have a profound effect on both physical and emotional health, leading to increased vitality and a deeper sense of alignment. Yay, welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Awesome. So all of that is super true from our own experience. So could you share with the audience about your background and how you became interested in spinal flow technique?
Yes, absolutely. So I got my undergraduate degree in psychology and family psychology many moons ago. And I had an experience where I went through like traditional therapy. That was a requirement for part of my undergraduate degree and with the intention of moving forward as being a therapist. But my experience wasn't that great. And so I decided, well, I'm not going to go on to become a therapist, but I still had some of my junk following me around into my marriage and into my parenting. And I had a really great friend one day tell me, like, Jen, you need to get some support. You need to get some help. Only a real friend would do that, right? And this was like 26 years ago. And she said, you need to go to my energy lady. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Anyway, to make the long story short, I had tried everything I needed to try up until that point. And so I went to the energy lady and, with quite a bit of skepticism. But what I came to understand was that, our subconscious brain is running the show. And that just opened a whole new world for me. And so I started on my own healing journey over the years, eventually got trained in energy coaching. What I've been seeing the last several years is that the mindset part of it, of healing, isn't enough. Like the body is holding on to a lot. And it's getting in the way of, really being able to move forward and really being able to feel peaceful. And so I saw a real need in my own, within my own coaching business for people to be able to let go of, the traumas and, no matter how big they are, like a trauma is a trauma. If it's stored in the body, it's causing some problems. And I think, I was going through some of my own stuff and knew I needed something different to help my nervous system. And, the power of Instagram scrolling, I guess. I saw the Spinal Flow Technique ad come up and I felt really drawn to it. I drove 3.5 hours to the closest certified practitioner, had 5 sessions done in, a day and a half. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, I'm going to go learn this because I don't think I realized how out of sync and triggered my nervous system really was. I'd been kind of living like that for a long time, even though my mindset stuff was good. My body was not, that's what inspired me to get certified in spinal flow because it really had a big impact on me.
It had a big impact on me as well when we came to see you. So we had 6 sessions each over 2 days. And the interesting thing about it is when you talk about mindset, even somatic kind of therapies, which are still, you're still thinking about it. You know what I mean? You're still sort of in that neck up experience, although you're bringing maybe the images down into the body. But what I thought was different about this technique was actual touch. And so even though it's a gentle touch or not a super manipulative kind of forcing, just the gentle touch with the intention that you gave to the touch, all of it was so powerful for me because I like to flip out of the body. I like to go into my head, into the mindset, into the spirituality, into the ethereal. I could float up there forever. And, you know, trauma does happen in the tissues in the body. So getting actual body work, no matter if it is intense or subtle, it was so transformative because it really did bring me back in to the body. And instead of thinking about it or analyzing it, you know what I mean? And the flow, or I know you'll talk more about the technique, the healing power of that was amazing because I think that's just what it needs to do is just move, you know, just mobilize and flow, if you will. So
can I touch on something you just said? You said you flip out of your body. And I want to address that in case anybody else resonates with that. Like, even if you hadn't thought of it before, when we experience trauma as kids, whether it's just an adult yelling at us or whether it's deeper, you know, abuse trauma, in order to survive emotionally as a little kid, it's like parts of us do leave. And so spinal flow helps calm that nervous system so those parts of you can come back, so it feels safe to be in your body, even in the middle of conflict, even in the middle of chaos or, you know, whatever's going on in your life, that, you know, you can feel safe in your body and not feeling like I have to get out, you know. And that's when people turn to alcohol or, you know, other kind of substances or overeating or, you know, whatever it is to get out of their body, you know?
yeah, that's true. Rob, did you have a comment on that?
No, and I think that's actually like, so for instance, my experience with it, I really wanted to go in with no expectations. I actually, you know, Kate gifted it to me. We went together and I didn't really read much up about it. I almost didn't want it in my head to know anything about it, just to see what was noticed. Energy for me does not flow that well, right? I mean, like it was, in many ways, it was blocked and it was coming through that way. And so it was very interesting awareness to actually see and feel energy where it rests, where it doesn't rest. So it gave me a stark contrast, actually. I don't know if that makes sense or if you've seen that with anyone else. But it kind of helped identify that in a very, as I said, I had no expectations and I just wanted to see what the physical would do to me.
We get so used to how we feel in our bodies, we almost don't know that it could be different. And that's, I think, the biggest aha moment I had was like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like for my nervous system to be completely relaxed. Have I ever felt this before? So it's like when we can calm the nervous system, all kinds of healing can start happening on emotional level, physical level, spiritual.
So for our listeners who may not be familiar, can you explain what spinal flow technique is and how it works?
Sure. So I'm going to just really simplify this down because that's the best way to understand it for me, even. So everyone has a brain. We all have a spine, which is where our nervous system lands. We have nerves that come out of the spine that are associated with all the different organs and systems in our bodies. And our brain's got to be able to talk to all of the nerves and to give the messages, hey, digest food. Hey, there's a headache going on over here. You know, send reinforcements to release that headache. Or, hey, there's an injury here. We need to repair this. Or even immune things, right? Hey, we've got some white blood cells that are out of whack. If the brain can't tell the body like to take care of those, then that's when we start seeing symptoms. And so what blocks the brain from being able to communicate with all the nerves along, our nervous system are different blocks that we accumulate. So we have emotional blocks. When we're little kids, we get in trouble, we feel ashamed or afraid, but there's not an adult there that helps walk us through that and helps us process it. It's usually like, stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about, or, man up, or, like whatever it is, like you shouldn't worry about that. So we never learn how to process the emotions. So the emotions get stuck, and that's called emotional blocks, and they land on the spine. We have toxins that accumulate in our bodies when our bodies can't process it in the moment. So, if you ate a whole bunch of, soda and candy bars and, all the junk, it's an overload of chemicals and toxins and sugar, and the body can't keep up with all of it, then anything it can't process in the moment lands in the spine, as a block. And the same thing with, just basic wear and tear on the body, stress levels, whatever's not able to process in the moment gets thrown back. Basically, it's like, it's like that, carrying the weight of the world on your back, And so what Spinal Flow does, it is this really gentle technique that has a lot of research behind it. Actually, there's a lot of science behind it, but the body has what's called different access points. And when we apply a little bit of pressure on the access points, it's like turning a light switch on, or I often visualize like a fuse box, that the fuses get to reconnect. And so during spinal flow sessions, sometimes people have movement when the things start to reconnect, or they have little twitching in their hands or their torso or their feet, or, there lots of different things can happen. Sometimes people yawn when things are starting to kind of come back on, like the lights are starting to come back on. It's really beautiful because when we start releasing those layers of blocks, then the body knows what to do to heal itself. It's like teaching your body to remember what it's already meant to do, and just kind of keep up on its own healing.
I think what was awesome too was I felt those blocks in my spine, and that was like I couldn't really rotate. I had been a yogi for a long time, and I don't know, I'm not sure why I lost a lot of rotation, and I got into Pilates, and I thought that would help, and nothing really, I had myofascial release, all the things, but it did feel like there were these hooks in my spine, and I didn't really get what that was. I don't know why that term came up. So I myself too saw an ad on Instagram with the spines, and I'm like, that's what I need. I need my spine to move just like that. That would be amazing. That it seems so freeing. And that's actually what happened. And I don't have those kinds of restrictions. They felt like restrictions, not so much pain, but just I couldn't access even my core like I wanted to. So after that weekend, I went to Pilates class, which I'd been doing for 2 years in these privates. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can move now. Like I can move in the way that I should have been moving in the first place. So now when I go to Pilates, we're actually doing, the things I probably should have done in the beginning. I just couldn't get access to them. You know what I mean? And I thought I wasn't strong, or my core's not strong, but it was like I was blocked or something, or something was restricting the full movement and even access to my pelvic floor and my core, which is, what Pilates tries to help with, but I couldn't even get there because there was something blocked in there. So it was remarkable. I didn't even know how it, really the science or anything, but it just felt really good. It was also a very intense process because it felt like peeling layers. It's not like you go in and you're all of a sudden like coming out this like beautiful butterfly. I mean, I snotted on your table. I probably used all your Kleenexes for sure. I know it was so.
I got a plethora of Kleenex boxes.
You're probably like, you're like handing me the.
No, I was like,
yes,
she's releasing. Yes, get it out.
I know, but that's what it has felt like since then, is that this shedding and releasing and this ability to just let go of a lot of stuff. I don't feel as burdened anymore, whatever that is. So it is pretty miraculous. I don't really say that often about a lot of things, but it was pretty powerful.
What's really cool about you is that you're very in tune with your body. So a lot of times people come and they know they hurt, but that's as far as it goes, because you've done a lot of inner work and a lot of body work. Like you came very in tune and very open to the whole experience. And so it's fun to hear that you could feel things shifting and moving and releasing. Not everyone can do that. And that's okay. You don't have to be able to feel everything for it to work, but it's kind of cool.
Well, Rob could speak to that. Rob, do you want to talk about you?
Well, one thing, can I speak to the nervous system? Because for me, that was, because I didn't go in with pain. Like, I know I'm not the most mobile person, right? But what I really noticed when we, like if I go through a given day with my nervous system, like there'll be times I want to check out. And we talked about that because, while Kay's going through these transformative processes and all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking naps. And, so, the question was, all right, do you usually check out, or when do you? And it's like, when I feel safe or I feel it's okay, I'll take that advantage. I mean, we did sound bathing this weekend, and, there's me sleeping, and, I do that. But then the challenge was, okay, can you stay awake in it? And what do you notice with that? So I kind of took that, how I would regulate my nervous system. And when things, like a lot of people would call something a 7, 8, or 9, right? When you talk about a stress level, for me, it actually presents as a 2, because I just feel tired and I can nap, and I take that option. But then when you actually suggested, why don't you write it out? Like, why don't you stay with it? And that was kind of interesting. So I've been doing that more this week. I mean, heck, we did it in the market there. And it was really interesting to actually be aware, because you've got, like, in my mind, there's something to be addressed or learned. And when I check out, and it could just be by a nap, and I get up and recognize it, it's buried, right? So my assumption or guess is that's something that creates a block, the constant burying. So then you're blocking that flow. So now even a learned trait walking out of this is like, okay, when I feel that, what's the thing to do? It's actually to step into it and not bury it anymore, but to work through it. And whether it's writing, whether it's getting out in nature, whatever it is. So that was like a big for me. Did that make sense?
I love that so much. Yes. That's a huge awareness, and that level of awareness will change your life. It'll change your perspective on everything,
So Kay's got body awareness and I got nervous system awareness. So we're good.
Well, it's kind of like you never knew, like I never knew this spaciousness. Do you know what I mean? It's like a different inhabitants. Like, it's like, whoa, like literally there's like nothing holding me back right now physically. So it's like, okay, so there's nothing that should be holding back in my life right now. So what is possible to create, right? Because that's ultimately what we want, is when we find a space and freedom, we start going forward and creating like we were meant to create, and manifesting like we were meant to manifest. And, you would just think, just like touching the spine. I know there's more to it than that. So, but it's really profound. So could you tell us, like, walk us through what a typical session would be, what that looks like? I mean, we know what it looks like, but maybe tell our audience.
Yeah. So usually I like to get on the phone with someone who's interested in spinal flow and just kind of get a feel for what challenges they're having, what results they'd like to have. And then you come in. Right now I just have a little room in my house. So you come to my house and we sit down, we go over health history, just go over any other things that we want, that you feel like would be important for me to know, just on an emotional level, physical level. And then we go into my little spinal flow room, where I have a couple massage tables. And I do an assessment, and that's just a basic, like, turn your head to the right, turn your head to the left, right ear to shoulder, left ear to shoulder, just some really simple things like that I'm just monitoring, like, what your movement, like how much movement you have, because when there's a lack of movement, that's telling me, okay, there's blocks in these different parts of the spine. And so what's really fun is that after the assessment, we talk about, okay, here are your symptoms. This makes so much sense because you have a block, in this area and this area. And there's a reason for your headaches and there's a reason for your stomach aches. And we're going to, start fixing it. We're going to help the body start fixing it, right, by releasing the blocks. So, and then we just get on the bed, face down. There's a little hole in my massage table, and you're just, I got some nice music going, a diffuser, some salt lamps, just like trying to make it really, just feel like a really safe, comfortable space to be in. And you just get to relax. And I really do encourage people to like tune into their bodies and notice their breathing, because we're just not accustomed to doing that. The average person is just not accustomed to any still time, where you just let your brain be still. And I was working on my son-in-law, one of my son-in-laws, when I very first got started, and I was talking people into getting on the table. I could tell I was a little skeptical, but he, in that, 20, 30 minutes that he was on the table, he's like, I've got a really great idea for a book, like something like an idea that he really was looking for. Like it came through, and that's the power of like stillness on its own. But when you're releasing blocks, that are, causing brain fog and overwhelm and, all the things, then yeah, sky's the limit. Like when your brain's working again. So
I think that's really awesome. And I mean, I think that's our job, is to keep that antenna really clean so that we can get those downloads, and the inspiration for creative ideas. And we just don't recognize that we're blocked, along that way, or we're so used to it, you know what I mean? And so it's like opening a dam. It's just really, really neat. Yeah.
So the actual session takes about 30 minutes. And if I'm working on kids don't need that long of time. Little kids, when my youngest grandchild was just born a couple months ago, I was there and we did spinal flow on her. I'm like, it just for a couple seconds, she's brand new, but we saw her little spine do like this, like she took a big breath and it was like, oh my gosh, that's what a spine is supposed to look like. It's all brand new and no blocks in it. And so that was really fun to see. But look, like babies don't hardly need any time. I've got a couple teenagers that I've been working on. And if they are okay with 30 minutes, we go 30 minutes, but usually it's 15 to 20 minutes because, they don't like to sit still for too long. But for the average adult, it's about 30 minutes. So you're on the table 30 minutes. And then, after the session, you just sit up, kind of stay on the table for a minute sitting so you can kind of get your bearings. And then you drink lots of water when you go home and just really hydrate because it helps detox. So sometimes people feel a little achy, which is a really good sign that things are shifting and moving. And it can be like muscle aches or detox aches, or even like joint aches, but everything's realigning, so, and what's cool is there is no manipulation. Like I'm not moving any bones around. I'm just, and do you want to explain the access points a little bit?
Yeah, that would be great.
So the access points are located in the lower back area and kind of down to the tailbone. And then there's also access points on your neck and on your head. And so what I do as a practitioner is my job is to get things moving, get that spinal wave moving, that energy force. And so I'm looking for access points that are like ready to be like basically activated. And so if I can't find one on the lower back area, then I move to the head. Or if the lower back area is like, okay, this was a good run, but now we got to move someplace else. So I'm just kind of monitoring and looking for access points that are going to help increase that flow. And as I see movement, I'll see like little micro movements in the muscles. Sometimes people will twitch a little bit, and I'm just looking for all the little signs that movement is happening and shifting and changing is happening. And then, yeah, so I kind of move around a bit on that. And I have lots of Kleenexes because sometimes people have big emotional releases. That's happened to me a few times on the table, and it's just like, boom, it just comes up because your body's ready to release it. And you don't have to talk it out. You don't have to, micro analyze it. Like your body's just letting go, and so powerful.
It's so powerful. So what kind of issues and challenges do you most often help your clients address? They're calling you for if they're in pain. For me, it was a pain issue, but could you tell us what kinds of things you see in your practice?
Yeah, lots of pain issues. I think because of the nature of my work as a mindset energy coach, a lot of people come with like feeling like I just feel overwhelmed, and I have brain fog, and I can't think, and I have these, they feel the emotions that are stuck, so they're like, I need a way to release them. But then I had one client who, she has quite a few different diagnosis issues going on. But one of the main things was she had had stomach aches her whole life. And she's in her 50s. And in 2 sessions, her stomach aches completely went away and have never come back. And, and that's, as I've been working with her, like her energy is improved, and she's thinking more clearly, and her other pain levels are going down, and her sleep is better. But I've had people come in with like lower back pain that's been there for a long time. One gal come in and her thyroid was like, you could see it. I'd never seen anything like that, like inflammation like that in the thyroid. By the time that she left, after 30 minutes, the inflammation had gone down probably 90%. I couldn't even, I was like, I looked at her and I'm like, wait, where is that? Like what you came in with, you just don't know what's going to happen. Like people will say, well, how many sessions do I need? Or what's going to happen in a session? I'm like, I don't know. Your body's going to let us know. It's going to prioritize whatever it needs to heal first. It's like, I'm not doing anything to heal anyone. I'm just reminding the body, hey, you have a brain and spine connection. We're going to just clear the blocks so that the body can start talking to the brain again, and it can start healing. So what else? I had one girl come in, and part of the assessment when you're laying on the table is you just run your finger down the spine. I ran it down an inch, and then it made a C, and then it went down again. And I was like, did you feel that? And she's like, yes. And it's going to be repaired in 1 session. And I'm like, okay. And 30 minutes later, I rechecked her spine. And if I hadn't felt it myself, I would have never believed it. But there was no C in her spine anymore. The curve was gone, totally straight. I can't explain that. I could not promise that to someone or everyone. It's like, but her body wanted to fix that at her first session. So, I mean,
that's amazing.
All kinds of things. Yeah. Some of the kids that I work on have like attention issues, focus issues. And so moms will bring kids in for that. So
I was just going to say that, there's not even a hyper analysis of why this happened and why it occurred. I mean, it's just like, because it just did. And, as a scientist, it's like, I kind of want to know every reason. Was there a study to like, back that up? And how is that possible? And you know what I mean? And I think what you're saying is simply, and in its complexity, the body can heal itself. So, and I think we make it more complicated than it needs to be. Right. And then there we go, disassociating again into our intellect of trying to prove why this works and why it doesn't work, when actually it is what you said. We're removing the blocks, and therefore it can heal. So that's really amazing. So it seems like all kinds of symptoms, or
whether it's emotional, like stress, overwhelm, brain fog, and then any physical symptoms.
Does it work on dogs?
Actually, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it does.
I'll try it.
There are practitioners that specialize in spinal flow with animals.
Well, that makes sense too. Yeah, they have a spine and a brain. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I do have a question though. Like, is there any research on neurodegenerative disorders, movement disorders, anything from Parkinson's, Huntington's, anything like that? I'm even thinking like mitochondrial dysfunction, long COVID issues, things like that, like a whole host of stuff. I mean, have they delved into that yet?
My brain is not a sciencey brain. So even if there was research, it's not where my brain goes, right? But what Dr. Carly, the founder of this and creator of this, is just like, the body will heal if you get it in a place where it can heal. Like if we get the blocks removed, there's no telling what can happen. I'm going to be working on a man who's paraplegic next week and who's in a lot of pain. And so when I was doing a little research on that, and I found a video of Dr. Carly working on her brother-in-law that's a paraplegic, and he had movement, and his whole sacrum area moved. Like you could see movement all through his spine. And I was like, wow, like who knows what's possible, right? So I think my personal belief is that the body, if you commit, to the process, the body can heal. And we can't say how long it will take, but if you're determined to, have certain results, just stick with it.
Like what you're saying is like, it doesn't matter what we call what the diagnosis is. A block's a block, right? And so whether we want to say it's in the spine causing this, or a thyroid thing causing that, it really doesn't matter, right? And the power of being able to create more flow by reducing anything is possible, which is kind of a cool thing as a practitioner, isn't it? It's just, you kind of know it works, but then you're like really shocked when it does. It's like, wow, that's so miraculous. But you kind of knew it, but then it's always really surprising.
Yes. So wonderful. And it's so wonderful to see people out of pain that have been in pain for so long, whose nervous system has been activated for so long because of trauma that they've had in their lives. But when they start like walking out, like feeling 10 pounds lighter, and, like they're bright again, it's incredible.
So amazing. So there's all kinds of benefits, from like pain relief to sleeping better to even, like you said, the gut thing, digestion, who knows? Because the spinal cord is, related to all of those functions, right? So anything along that pathway, which is everything in the body, by the way, can be affected by that, right?
Yeah.
So
your immune
that's
system
amazing.
in general.
Is there any misconceptions that people need to know about spinal flow that you'd like to address? Like you said, it's not a chiropractic adjustment that you're doing, right?
Yeah, there's no like bone manipulation at all. One thing that I think people, and I had this like confusion at the beginning too, because when you see the ads or go to the website or whatever, the people that you see are typically people that are moving during their session. And so when I first had my session, I remember laying on the bed going, am I moving? Am I moving? And she's like, no, you're not moving. And it's like, there's just there's three types of ways that you experience spinal flow. There's the movers, there's the breathers. So when you can see the flow, but as within the breath. And then then the third one is called perception, where they're very still. And so we're still trained to look for little movements that are signs, that things are shifting. But yeah, so when people see the ads, sometimes they're like, I don't know if I want to do that, because what if I move weird or whatever? Like, most people don't move, I think you're like one of two or three in the, I don't know, year that I've been practicing and working on people that has been a mover. So most of them are just, pretty still on the table. But movers are fun.
So where can listeners learn more about your work and potentially book a session, Jen?
Yes, you can go to my website at jenpoulson.com. And I have a button there right on the page that says request spinal flow consult or information, I think is what it says. We're in the process of getting a new website where we'll have more spinal flow information on there, but just talk to me. You can message me on Instagram. I've got a Spinal Flow Jen Instagram account, and you can message me there as well.
And you can also do it as a couple, as we did, two people in the room, right? Mm-hmm.
Two people can go at a time. So a lot of times I'll have a mother and child, that I'll be working on at the same time. I think you guys are the first couple that I worked on. Men aren't always super open to it. So kudos to Rob for being open.
Open and still shut at the same time.
You can bring a friend in, or sometimes I've got a couple new clients that are just put together, with they're okay with, they'll come in at the same time. So, yeah.
So are there any other key takeaways or message that you'd like to leave listeners about the potential of spinal flow?
Yeah, I would say, if you're struggling in any way and you've been trying, to take supplements and change your diet, and you've been doing all the things, and haven't been getting the results that you want, just come in and give it a try. And if you're completely new to holistic, ways of healing, then come in and give it a try.
I agree. I think it all works together, whether you do it in layers or you do it together, but there's no way of getting around, your brain and your spinal cord and its innervations and blocks. I mean, it's such a primal part of who we are, and to not address health in that way, you're missing a lot. You're missing, which is what I just recognized. I mean, I knew about it, but that's not something that I really made as a primary part, of functional medicine practice or holistic practice. That's why I believe this is really fascinating, and getting to those roots is always what we're seeking. So it was very, very profound. So what's next on your spinal flow practitioner journey, and anything new and fun? Mm-hmm.
I've been hired to come to a couple women's retreats to come and offer spinal flow as part of, their healing over the week. So that's fun. It's just a sacred place to do healing, when you're at a retreat and you're focusing on it, and you become open to letting go in a, kind of a different way. So anyone out there who has a retreat coming up can hire me to come and work with your attendees. I I think getting into the community more and doing, more education about spinal flow.
No, I just think, and as you were just saying at the end, I think people should really go into it with suspend any disbeliefs and be open to any mystery, because it really is, when you talk about it, it's the nervous system, it's the spine. This is the core to the being. So how can it not influence and affect so many parts of our body, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional? So I just, it's one of those things, sometimes when you think protocols, you think targeted things like diagnoses and, what the treatment is. It's this is kind of casting a wide net, So I think it's really cool, and that's an advantage to it for sure.
Well, and one other thing that I would like to add to, for anyone that might be sitting on the fence or this feels kind of scary or whatever, to try something new, is I've been doing, I've been working with clients for, I think, 13 years or so. And I take it very seriously. It's a sacred place. It's a sacred, space that I hold. I don't take it lightly. I understand what going through pain is like, emotional level, physical level. And I'm not the type of person that's going to rush you in and out. I'm there with you, to walk the journey with you, whatever that looks like. And I know I've appreciated those people in my life that have walked with me, through things. And I value that, and I value giving that to others as well.
I would second that, Jen. You do hold space very well, and very safe and non-judgmental, and it is what it is. And, so I think with any practitioner client patient relationship, that is so key in the healing process too. So yes, you do that very well. So thank you so much for explaining what this is. Thank you so much for the work that you do. It is, we know firsthand how profound that is. I do. It's so amazing. So I hope our listeners would be interested in coming to see you for some deep healing. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Soul of Medicine podcast, where science meets soul for whole health healing. Are you ready to reclaim your energy, vitality, and soul purpose? Then feel free to head to our website at kcorpusmd.com and schedule an appointment for your root cause review.